All right. If you hear that sound that it's Tuesday, it can mean only one thing, that the music's too loud. You know, it's very hard to control the music, but it is Tuesday, and that means it's time for Comic Book Scott.
Exactly.
It's time for Comic Book School Live, the show about the craft and business of making comics. I'm just going to press stop on the music, Deanna, because I'm literally distracted by it. So, Can we do that? All right.
Maybe. There it is.
That's it. Hey, everybody, my name is Buddy Scalera, and welcome to Comic Book School Live. As I said, if it's Tuesday, it means it's time to talk about the craft and business of making comics. Tonight, we have two wonderful guests, two personal friends, experts in crime and comic book storytelling. But first, a little bit about me. My name is Buddy Scalera, and if you know my name, it's probably through Wizard, my photo reference books, Richie Rich, X-Men, Weapon X, Deadpool, or something else really cool and awesome. You may have liked it, you may not have, your mileage may vary. And if you've heard of Deanna Destito, my esteemed co-host, you probably know her from either The Beat, the Eisner Award-winning The Beat. Hold on, I think we have to give you a crowd applause. We didn't know you won an Eisner.
Thank you, thank you very much.
Yeah, you didn't ever really tell us about that. Anyway, and she is also a writer in her own right, and she's awesome, and she's going to be helping me co-host tonight. We've got a really good month. If you've not watched our previous episodes, we talked in general about how crime pays. That is, it pays if you're writing comic books about crime. Last week, we had Max Allan Collins, the legendary writer of Road to Perdition, and many other comics and novels, and Jay Martin drew live his characters. But tonight we have Brian Michael Bendis, Michael Avon Oeming, famous for Powers and many, many other things. Next week, Amy Chu. The week after that, Alex Segura. And the week after that, Brian Haberlin. We got a pretty big month, don't we?
We do. Very excited.
Very excited. Very excited. Okay. So Bendis and Oeming, we've got a lot of, something came up in the private chat. Deanna, make sure that you're taking a look at that.
That was for you, buddy. I said that.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. You're not making the button. You're not getting the button to make the comments.
No, I can't. I can't do it.
Oh, okay. Well, how about I show them then?
There you go. I can't. It's not coming up. I'll read them. Okay. Are you 10 minutes early? What a great time to like, comment, and subscribe. It's so true.
That's right. That's right. And then you read them because I'm tired of hearing me.
Okay, no, you press the button. I'll read them. All right. Ha ha. You getting paid for that promotion, Matt? Ooh. Uh-oh. What's going on in the chat? All right. That's a bit bright. Hey, everybody. Hi, Deanna and Buddy. Hello, hello. Redheaded Ed. Hello, friends. We're all here. Hello, everybody. Everyone's popping in.
Everybody popping in. And yep. Sorry about the lighting scenario. Now, Andrew's from Australia. You have to do it with your Australian accent.
Oh, I'm so bad at this. Hello, everyone. I can't. I sound either Cockney or Russian.
You'll insult an entire continent. You have
hey,
Glenn. Glenn is very talkative.
Low key. I like it, Glenn. Hey, go back.
Hey. All right. Well, very good. All right. So tonight we are going to welcome our guests. I think tonight we have... so we're going to welcome, I'm going to just add him to the scene. You know him, you love him. He is a writer of so many comic books. It was a little bit hard to narrow it down to just a few hundred. You probably know him best for his groundbreaking work in the Ultimates universe, Alias, X-Men, the Avengers, House of N, co-creating Miles Morales and Riri Williams, his work at DC Comics, Independent Comics. Brian, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Nice to see you, buddy. We go way back.
Way back. And Brian was actually on
What's your earliest memory? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to show you my earliest memory of your work. I'm all queued up, my friend. But Brian, the last time, Brian, you were on the show is 2023, proving it's far too long since we've seen you. And we're glad to have you back. You were talking about Fortune and Glory.
Oh, cool. Yeah. What is your earliest convention memory of us?
Of us? Yeah. I met you. You were still working for Caliber, and you were seated, I believe, with David Mack.
Okay. What do you think? Chicago?
I think it was Chicago, and I believe David Mack did his famous dive behind the booth, and we caught it on video. So
I saw many of those. I'm not sure which one to you is famous. I've seen. Both Mike and I have been witness to many Daredevil-like daring do's from David Mack. That
Yes.
I literally, there was a couple of conventions where I'm like, well, I'm going to have to call 911. I'm going to have to call his family.
You're like, well, I'm glad we got this. Glad we got this on camera because we want to be. I got it on camera in case you had to report it to 911. Be like, how did this happen? You're like, we have video.
I am very happy to report that David has settled down dramatically over the years. So
I'm sure he has. I actually saw him in New York just recently. And let's bring, I think, your partner in crime here onto the scene.
Who has been physically involved with David Mack, the daring do. David figured out early on in our relationship that I'm not someone to roughhouse with, but Jersey's own Mike Oeming, very much someone you can roughhouse with.
Yeah, the first time David and I hung out, he gave me a black eye.
Oh my gosh.
As long as you kept the hands good, you're okay. And I should note, you do get the magic twinkle, Oeming, because this is your first appearance on the show. You get the magic twinkle.
There you go.
I like it.
It's got a nice sound to it, doesn't it?
I love it.
And if people don't know you, they should. You've done your own crime comic books. You had runs at Marvel with Thor, Wings of Manasi. I have a lot of that here. Mice Templar, the Blue Book, also from Dark Horse. And I do want to note that for both of you, this is a great photo. I believe, where was this, Mike?
My God. That hair.
Yeah, I have some unbelievable Jersey pictures of Mike. That is a great one. Taki, can you see this? Is Taki around? Oh, she left? Okay.
I'll skip over this part later.
Let's go full screen. This way everybody has is the maximum amount of Mike. That was beautiful.
When you auditioned to be the bad guy in Karate Kid, did you get a callback? Or
no, they just gave it to me on the spot.
You literally look like the guy standing behind James Spader in every 80s movie.
Yeah.
Disagreeing and
I was supposed trying to never try and part your hair in the middle. Never. It's a tightrope you don't want to be on.
And
I truly love that picture. I love it.
Now I believe we were in New York at that, right, Oeming? We were. I think that was that one show that was like at Madison Square Garden, and it smelled like elephant dung because they had just had the circus or something.
Oh,
it must be if Ship of Fools was a thing at the time, which was like between 96 and 98 or something like that.
This is before us, but we knew it. Did we know it? Did I know you with this haircut? Yeah, I can't imagine.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Right. But yeah, Buddy and I, just like Brian, we go back quite a bit, quite a long time.
Now, wait, I do want to show this because what you see here was a favor that you had done for me, and I'm going to show this. I'll go big. I still have this comic.
What comic is that?
The Ship of Fools. That's a Mike already cover.
And you had done a really nice thing for us to promote the Wizard Online Forum. If you remember when we did the Wizard Online Forum.
Yeah.
That struck
me. Remember how excited we were about online forums? Oh my God, the future was so great.
Those were the days, man. We don't know how good we had it back then.
Yeah.
Jokes aside, it really did, because it was such a Wild West new territory, it did add a level to our experience breaking into comics where you immediately, I have very distinct memories of Bill Sienkiewicz saying to me when I first met him, when I came up, we didn't know if anyone was reading our stuff. We get 2 fan letters on New Mutants. I had no idea anyone, where we were the first generation of people who got Wednesday afternoon feedback, immediate feedback. And I was grateful for it. It really felt great. When I hear the older creators go, I had no idea anyone was reading our stuff. You're hopeful. Yeah. You got a letter, you meet people at conventions, but we got immediate feedback, and that was cool.
We did get immediate feedback. I was looking. I thought I still had an AOL disc where you could have gotten 200 hours free, but I couldn't find it in my drawer.
I still have my AOL account. I feel like an obligation. If I shut it down, the whole Warner Brothers arm will collapse.
Question for you, though, Brian. Was that one of the free accounts that I gave you? Because I gave a lot of pros free accounts. Is that the
It
free
very
account?
well could be. If you back then, if you were giving me something for free, absolutely, I took
I
a full
remember
heart.
you, and you were really good to us. I remember my uh, partner at Wizard Online turned me on to Jinx. No, I turned him on to Jinx, and you sent him a page of original art, and we just marveled over it because you
Oh,
had all the lettering on it, and we just thought you were the greatest in the world.
thank you. That's nice. All right. Yeah,
No,
that's right.
man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but see, kids, back in the day when your friend sent you something disgusting in a text, you would have to wait 20 minutes for it to download to see how really disgusting.
That's right. You'd watch the JPEG load
Oh,
slowly.
Just loading and loading. It's
sure.
like that movie No Way Out with Kevin Costner. We're just waiting for the image to clear. The whole movie, just waiting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Now,
don't
I
as
only
Hey,
read
Henry.
the best novels online, so I don't know what
Hey,
you're talking
I'm
about.
a big fan of Henry. He has a book out at Image called Death of Pacheco. It's really great. Just want to
well, we
give
want
it
to thank him because this is his first appearance.
Wow, great. He got a plug for it. So there you go.
Henry, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate that. So, all right, so we're going to pull that off. All right, so we got a lot to get to tonight, and
We're not talking about AOL anymore? That was it? Okay.
talk about whatever you want, actually. And just so you guys know, you contributed to my book,
That's
Oh
right.
yeah, yeah.
Remember that.
right? You did a how-to guide using the art, and
I love doing that. I love using photo
So
reference
no
and all the
pictures
ways
of me
you
with
can use.
hair? None? No pictures of me with hair,
I
huh?
might. I'm going to go through the archives. If when I find them, I'm going to get you back on. I actually might have
My
video of
kids
it.
react so poorly when they see a picture of me with hair. It's so funny. It like rattles the reality. Anyway.
All right, so here we go. So I think we went the wrong way. So the road to powers. All right, so
Yeah.
we're in this for 25 years. But yes, Brian, where did I discover you? I discovered you because I love crime, and crime is my jam. And I think I found you first through Goldfish, and then Jinx. Somebody gave me Torso, and then when you broke out on Sam and Twitch, it was like an epiphany for me. I mean, what you were doing on the page was unlike anything anybody else was doing, and it spoke to me in a way that very few comics ever
Well, thank you.
spoke to me.
Well, it was we certainly by accident, certainly not by plan, became part of a little movement of indie crime comics that all kind of debuted around the same time. You know, all people like I've now met them all, but I didn't know any of them at the time, and it wasn't like a planned idea. But I remember there were a couple like pieces even in Wizard about look at all these crime comics, like, and it just happened to be that way. And I just discovered that it was one of my deep passions in life was film noir and the language of film noir and the rules of crime fiction and true crime fiction when it works and when it really gets into the now when people see true crime they think of those like shoddy peacock docs where they just glaze over stuff like they always had stuff like this like cheap true crime docs, but I like the richer, let's take some time and really figure out what was going on and why it happened, and so I was the least selling of the bunch, but there was Stray Bullets and Sin City and Kane and like all of them are really really good, and I was thrilled to be part of that group, even though I was easily the caboose of that group. But I no, I just like literally Stray Bullets had exploded in sales, and I was literally lucky to get another book. I literally had just sold enough to get another book, and I'm not being cheeky or like self-deprecating. I'm telling you the truth. Like I was struggling with some mistakes. You even posted that cover of a Goldfish. People came up to me often. They see that cover and they were fans. And because I had like you see the gun there, people literally go, "I am a huge fan of Akka Goldfish," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's not the name of it at all in any way, shape, or form." But because it says AKA, but there's no dots, and the gun looks like a P instead of an F. So I started in the hole marketing wise, and it was at the same time trying to figure stuff out. It was really great time for me as far as I was finding myself with every page. I was getting better. I was literally, as Mike knows, and continue to like constantly looking for moments of discovery in genre, in my work. What can I do with this idea? A lot of my favorite authors were outside of comics. Like Richard Price would be the formative one, where here's a person doing a lot of research to tell a fictional story. And I'm like, well, that seems like right up my that's what I would like to do. And whatchamacallit, um everywhere I went, I would do research. And that research would take me to new places. And then I met a woman who was a bounty hunter for real. This is back before they were kind of even in the culture, even before Dog the Bounty Hunter. So I was like, bounty hunter, what? Like everything was like really exciting, and I would literally trade people art favors for research favors. Like I want to sit with you and tell me your worldview, but at the same time, I'll like there was a woman, Jinx, inspired, that I literally did her ads, so she would talk to me about what it was like to be a bounty hunter. And throughout all this time, I was doing ride-alongs with cops. Like, and what happened was I would in the letter columns express that I was doing this, that I was like meeting real people who did this. I was doing research. I would talk to you about it, and then people would reach out to me and invite me into their world. FBI agents, cops,
Hmm.
government employees of certain departments would just go, "Hey, if you ever need an FBI expert, call me." Or would come to me at a show, Mike as well. Go, "Here's my card. I work at Langley," right? And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And it was really people you would call. So the not only was I out doing research was coming towards me, and that included me going on some ride-alongs with some cops in different cities. I did in Cleveland, and then I did in Vegas. That was a scary one. I did stop doing them once my first child was born, because I was like, you don't have to be doing this, and this is maybe time to stop. But because I did see some scary things, it did motivate a lot of good story, but it was scary. But throughout this, and I was reading Dave Simon's book Homicide, which I know there's a TV show called Homicide, which it is based on. I highly recommend the book. He's also the guy who invented The Wire. So going back years, he was another person who was a reporter that would pretty much get involved in the space. Homicide Life on the Street is a book about homicide detectives from Baltimore, and he just lived with them for a year and just wrote whatever happened is what he wrote, right? And so something, it was weird because I had let go of superheroes. Not that I didn't love them, but Mike and I are both of an age where we were in high school when Watchmen and Dark Knight came out.
Mm.
So it felt for a while, and it's not true, and it was never true, that everything that could be said about superheroes had been said. Like the mountain had been climbed. Because when you're in high school and something as amazing as Watchmen and Dark Knight, and Batman Year One, they're all coming out on top of each other, and it just feels like mission accomplished. Wow, look at that. So I literally didn't think about superheroes too much, and also the art that was coming out of me wasn't like what Marvel and DC did. And I remember I kept, like, just out of habit, kept shipping them or sending and submitting any book, any new thing I did. And then one day I got to literally was at the post office going, why am I sending Tom Brevoort a copy of Jinx? There's nothing in here that's what he does, right? and I go, stop. You don't do what they do. Why are you doing this? So I just kind of settled into thinking about myself as a crime writer and really luxuriating. And I also was getting some nice feedback. Like people were being nice about it for the first time in my whole life. I was getting decent reviews and stuff. So then I hit this moment where I was reading Homicide, and I went, man, I wonder what if this took place in a world of superheroes. And it startled me that I thought that thought, because I hadn't thought about superheroes creatively in years. But this thought really locked in, and I soon after met Mike Oeming at a signing in Philadelphia. Do we think?
Yeah.
Claude's Comics. And it was one of these great, and I really recommend other stores do this. Like, have the local talent, the indie creators, have them come in even though they're not the biggest names in the block, to have them come in, have a bunch of them come in at once and just make a little event and have them hang out, and maybe no one shows up, maybe a bunch of people show up, maybe 2 people show up and they love it more than anything. But we got to do a few of these over the years where we're just like hanging out with a bunch of peers of the generation, and that's where me and Mike met. And Mike was, spoilers, already on another chapter in his career, and was developing the style that would become, the Powers style. And he showed it to us. Me and David Mack were already friends, and we met Mike at the show, had a fun dinner, went home, and he had drawn my character Jinx and David Mack's character Kabuki in the style of what would become Powers. And and not to date it more than the AOL conversation, but he had faxed it over. Google it, kids. And he had faxed over a drawing of my character in his style. I had rarely seen the fan art at this time of any of my stuff, let alone a peer's version of my stuff. And I immediately said, well, I would really rather he was drawing this book than I was. That was my first gut instinct, is I would rather this was what the book looked like than what I was struggling through. And then that, to me, became I need to work with him. I hope he wants to work with me. He did send this over. I think he does. And I called David Mack and I said, can I have him, or are we going to fight over him? And it happened to be that that David is more whatchamacallit, like focus on one project at a time, whereas I could grab a couple. So me and Mike started. I'm going to pause and I'm going to go off camera, and Mike's going to tell his story while I deal with a family situation for a moment, and I'll be right back. Okay? Take it away, Mike Oeming.
What? I wasn't paying attention. What?
Well, here's the thing. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this back in here, and we're gonna put this over here. We're gonna make it big. I'm gonna see if I can figure this out. There we go. Okay. So while we were talking about that, you were making waves, doing all kinds of different projects. I discovered you through Ship of Fools. Although I thought
hold on one second. I got it. Ryan, here's.
Very sorry, buddy. We're going to have to postpone my part of this conversation. Mike's going to take over. I have to deal with the family situation. You would understand completely. I'm going to take care of it. We'll do this week. We'll finish up my side of it.
Everything's okay, Talkie knows.
Everything's okay, but we're taking care of it. All right.
All right, Brian. Have good luck.
Very sorry.
No problem.
Right.
Good luck, Brian.
Cannot be helped. All right.
All right. All right, Oeming, it's all you now.
I guess the assassins worked out.
Well, so I think I discovered you somehow through Caliber, and I don't know if you were doing Caliber through like Negative Burn or something, but then you just started this rapid release of materials. Yeah, I guess this was Caliber originally. And I think that's where I found you. You were doing something with Brian Glass, right? This was with Brian Glass.
Yeah. I had done, mainstream Marvel DC stuff up to then. I'd kind of built my way up. And it was sort of that 90s crash that changed everything. And that's what was really pushed me to do my own stuff, was because like the work just wasn't around. There's a whole history there about like how the speculator market created all these stores, and then when the speculator market ended, all these stores collapsed and businesses went out of business, and comic book publishers went out of business. So there's just less jobs. But instead of like going into video games or giving up or doing something else, I was like, I'm just going to create my own work. So that's kind of where Ship of Fools came from. Just before Ship of Fools would have been Foot Soldiers at Dark Horse. And that was sort of the beginning of it. But then, I spent a good amount of time at Caliber with that sort of class of creators that came out at that time period, which was like Phil Hester and Brian Bendis and Dan Brereton and just a billion other guys. My memory recall sucks. But there was a bunch of us that came out of there. It'd be worth doing some sort of retrospect on it or something. It's pretty crazy.
Right, like the class of Caliber, right? There was it was sort of like that first wave of Valiant, and that first wave of Caliber. Like there were moments in the 90s that we didn't know how good we had it.
Yeah, we weren't connected either,
No,
because we're all
weren't
spread out and
connected.
there was no like internet thing. So it's not like
Yeah.
us coming together. It wasn't like the studio scene or something like that, It was just a sort of happy coincidence. I think there were, independent comics were just so different back then. There were so few outlets to be able to do stuff, and Caliber was one of the ones where if you had like an idea of like a crime story or a science fiction story, you could go there. Because typically it was like you're either doing Marvel and DC or you're doing like really underground kind of stuff. So that this was this really interesting time where you can kind of do these sort of middle projects.
Yeah, Gary Reed was publishing, right? So he had you guys had Kabuki, you had what was it? Ziggy was here. No, Kilroy was here. He was
Kilroy, yeah, that was a big one. Yeah,
The Pruitt brothers were both
yeah,
there. There was a lot going on at Caliber at that time.
for sure. Yeah, especially the negative burn that the Pruitts did, because that just had a lot of people doing different anthology short stories and stuff. I think that's where Brian and I had our first short story together.
I think so. Okay, so
the 90s felt like anything was possible.
Yeah, kind of did, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially comparing it to now, where now you can get your work just put anywhere. The internet is this great leveler. Back then, you often had to take these huge chances, which were like just a publisher book. It was $1,200 to $2,000 or something for a book you don't know that you'll break even on if you're self-publishing or anything like that. At the same time, this great level that we have of the internet, it means the ground is so flat, it's hard to find anywhere. It's hard to get anybody's attention if you're new. So like, it's such a wildly different space. Whenever I'm getting younger people asking for advice, I'm like, it's just such a different landscape, and I can't say it's better or worse. It's just so different.
Well,
and then you guys have seen those changes too.
Yeah, I mean, we had CBR, CBG, Combo Magazine, Triton Magazine, and Wizard Magazine. I mean, if you were not in print, you didn't exist.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, but I also miss those magazines. We're doing some moving, and I was getting together and I found some of these older magazines. There was like Draw, the Tomorrows were doing a bunch of these, right? And some of the early Power stuff was in there, and I was reminded of like my first printed work was in what was it? It was one of the magazines from like the 80s. I'm forgetting the title. Amazing something?
Amazing Heroes. Amazing Heroes?
Yeah, it was Amazing Heroes. Yeah. And like in the back of those, in the fan letters, was my very, very first printed stuff. You'd write to the fan letters stuff and send some art. And it was like a Swamp Thing piece or some other things like that. I remember hearing Mignola getting some of his first stuff printed in like a fanzine. I think Simonson was the same way. I wish there was a way to bring back a lot of these publications, because they also had more of a focus. The internet makes things so spread out, whether it's you have to serve the advertising that goes on there, or the nature of the what's happening at the moment aspect of journalism in comics. Like that has to be what's focused on. Whereas like the magazines, you would just pick what was the theme of that month, right?
Yeah.
What was the subject of that month? And then you could really just explore that thing without worrying about like losing attention, because it was these monthly magazines, just a different time and a different thing.
It was a different time, and they had a cult of personality that came out of this. This is where you get the big famous. There's a question here, Deanna. You want to take this one?
Is it more liberating or challenging working outside of the big two?
Both, I like working for the big two. I definitely enjoy doing my own sort of creator-owned work stuff, but it has all sorts of sets of challenges. The challenge with Marvel and DC is it's not your vision, right? Because you're working for the company. The challenge for creator-owned stuff is you might not get paid. If nobody is reading the book, if you can't get eyes on it, if there's not a budget, all of these things. So like they just have different different challenges. I mean, luckily I'm wired in such a way that I'm going to work on, I want to work on multiple things all the time, and that keeps the bills paid and keeps things flowing, you know.
Well, let me
And part of that is because I came out of like the monthly book. You know, I was trained. My whole idea was like, if I'm going to be a comic book artist, I have to draw at least 22 pages a month. That has to be a page of pencils and inks every single day. Like that's how I was raised and trained. So even when I'm in a position where you can do a miniseries here and a miniseries there, I'm built to just, you know, basically work on a monthly schedule, whether I have a monthly book or several books, or I'm going to create something to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, you build the muscle, and the muscle stays strong, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me keep moving here because we have a lot we want to cover. Again, you know, Brian had a jump, but you and Brian, best known for Powers, but have done a lot, including with your wife Taki. And there are so many different books that you can find that Brian, Mike, Taki have worked on. But we're here to talk a little bit about Powers over the last 25 years. You started it with the Marvel. It was the first Icon book. Then you did a quick tour over at Image. And now you've ended up at Dark Horse, where they're doing a great job. I have all these books, these hardcover books. They just do such a great job with them. And I love them all. And Brian, Mike, I just want to prove that, like, I am truly one of your.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude, I loved this, and I think this is, sorry, it's just not great, but
thank you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of your work, so I'm really glad to have you. We're going to be showing some sketches, but I want to get through. You guys also had a television show on a nascent network called the PlayStation Network. I think your show
we were there early.
The PlayStation Network. It was actually, I felt like it was a good show, didn't you? I thought they did a nice job with it.
Yeah, you know, we came out it was when we didn't know what streaming really was yet. We didn't know anything about like how to set it up. The studios weren't quite sure what it was, or like how people were going to see it, or how they were going to find it. So it was really interesting to be there super early on.
Deanna, did you see the show? Did you ever see the show?
The show? No, I've read Powers, but I never saw the show. I never quite did the PlayStation streaming thing.
Yeah, it was weird. You had to buy a subscription, and the show is pretty good. I do want to give you, Mike. I did find a review, Deanna, if you'd like to read the review, because you know nothing beats internet reviews.
Oh, yes. Oh, I can't read that. That is so.
Girls on Drugs says, so freaking good despite the first 2 episodes.
That's definitely a very internet review. Yeah.
Which I thought, you know, the internet doesn't hold back, do they?
So the internet has never changed. This is always the way it's been.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was all kinds of nonsense around stuff early on.
Yeah,
but yeah, the show was a great experience. Especially the people, like the cast was great. You know, and you hear stories about like Hollywood people and stuff, and honestly, everybody was great. We even had one of them came and stayed with us in Portland to just kind of get away from LA for a while and stuff.
Wow.
Like it was just that's the main thing that I remember about the show was the people on there.
I also remember though, Mike, how if you look this cover on the left, how well they captured your visual aesthetic. Like that looks like truly like
the poster came together pretty nicely. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on, let's make that big because it really looks like they got your art.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Sure. For the posters, for sure. I think enough time has passed. I can openly say, like visually, there was something they didn't capture the nature of of shadows and noir and what negative space could do until the second season came around. The second season, we had a new cinematographer who was really using shadow as a language, and using composition to tell the story, which is what crime noir is best at. It's like what is a shadow hiding and what is the light revealing, or even the other way around. And we were finally getting to that to season 2. Season 3 looked set up to be our plans for it were it was going to just knock it out of the ballpark because the first season, a lot of it was a learning experience. The second one we were getting on our feet, and third one would have been pretty perfect. But this isn't the 90s when you can take a couple seasons to find your footing. You know what I mean? you have to know exactly what you're doing right from the get go. But this is a whole other experience because, like you said, it was the PlayStation thing. So trying to even explain to people how to see the show, as soon as you have a set of directions, it's a problem, right? And we know this through the comics. We can all agree that pre-ordering comics is insane. It makes no sense. If you try and tell anybody who isn't already doing it how to do it, you sound like a crazy person with a map to try to explain how you pre-order a comic. So that's what the Power Show was kind of like. It was like this whole thing. Like even if you had a PlayStation, you had to find it
You had to
on the
find it.
PlayStation. You know.
My kids were like, "What is this, Daddy?" And I was like, "It's hard to explain, but I don't think you're allowed to watch it."
Definitely not.
This was the review. You couldn't read it, but
Oh,
Girls on Drugs said so freaking good despite the first 2 episodes. So she did give you she said it was pretty good except those first 2. Okay. So, look, a lot has evolved, and what I love about this center image, this is the collected edition. Um, I don't know how many volumes Dark Horse has done, but what I thought was immensely charming was this intro that you and Brian did as you talking. And do you want to just talk to us about what you guys were doing here?
Oh, I don't remember. I think it was just us. You know, this was after we had thought that Powers was done. You know, we had finished the initial sort of conceptual run of it. You know, even though it went through different companies and different volumes, we had come up to the end story with Powers the best ever, and this was literally it was the end of. You know, we felt like we had everything to say that we had to say, so we wrapped up with this graphic novel, and it came out as an original graphic novel. And then years went by, and you know, we worked on Murder Inc. We have a new project that we have started during the pandemic, and we're going to finish. I was just after a while, I was just missing Walker and Deanna. I was just missing these characters in this world, and I was like, you know, maybe we should do some more Powers. And to be honest, I was aiming pretty low. I was like, let's just do Walker and Deanna. Let's not worry about the time. We don't need to say it falls in between this years or you know, to do like a BPRD 1956 kind of thing or anything like that. Like, let's just tell Walker and Deanna stories and just stick to the core thing. And I just miss the characters, and I don't care where it goes. Maybe even just do it black and white. But Brian was always thinking for the future. He's always thinking what's next, what's ahead, and I'm glad he did because at first I was like, I just want the old characters, right? And some of them are still there. We have these legacy characters. We have characters who are related to some of the former characters and stuff. But Brian had created a new world and found brand new things to say, which is what's cool about Powers, I think, is that it has a lot to say about society as it changes. So we found a lot to say. Brian really was interested in how his children have grown up and related to who our heroes were, right? And you know, now that like everybody's closets are wide open and you can see everybody's skeletons. And we find out some of the people that we loved were horrible people, or even not horrible people, just did some things that were acceptable at the time that we would never accept now. And thinking, what is that like for a young hero coming up who had these heroes that we had in our thing, like Diamond and Trip Hammer and Super Shock, and these characters who we explored their darker sides. And what would it like being a kid coming up now as a hero? In fact, the kids in this generation of Powers don't even want to be called superheroes. They want to be called emissaries because they want to separate themselves from what had come before. But like all young people, they will find that they will eventually make the same mistakes.
So, Deanna,
Um,
I want to pull you into this because you said that you had read Powers,
mhm.
and we don't mean for you to represent all of womankind, but you know, as a woman in comics, um, I'm sure that there was a lot of mansplaining for you. And
All
yet
every day.
somehow through all of this, you survived. What was it about Powers that worked for you? And also crime in general. We've talked a little bit about Deanna's love of crime,
I
not
love
necessarily actual crime.
I don't do crime, but I like I like
She loves crime, true crime.
yeah, I do like true crime. So for me, I like crime stories. I like the crime noir stuff. For me, with Powers, I initially picked it up because somebody recommended for me to read it. That was the first thing. I got really pulled into the dialogue. It felt very real to me. It felt like every page was a real conversation. People were interrupting each other. People were stumbling over words. It felt like a real conversation, especially when there was like heightened tension. You could feel the pacing on the page, and it wasn't just in the word balloons. It was the art. It was everything came together, and the page was paced the way the conversation would be paced. So it felt real to me. The other piece is Deanna cracked me up from the beginning. I loved her. Like she was, and you're right. Like in comic books, especially, I started reading in the 90s. And I started with superheroes. Look at what you got. You have, even though your female heroes are heroic and strong, there's an aesthetic, right? There's a very specific aesthetic. There's a very specific look. And
Yeah.
Dino looked like a real person to me, and she spoke like a real sassy person, and she didn't take anybody's crap. And I liked her because she was surrounded by all these dudes, and she was like, all right, enough of all of you. A lot of times she's like, I know what I'm doing. Like she kind of was like, okay, I'm not like, I can do this. And it was nice to see a female character who wasn't intimidated by all the dudes around her. And she had like a smart mouth, and I was very, very drawn to her. So that threw me into the series for sure.
Well, let me
Awesome.
move ahead with this real quick, because there's a comment. So, early, and you're talking about this right now. Let me see if I can make this big, and we'll make this big like this.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, that's not the right way. Here we go. It's trial and error, Mike. It's trial and error. You're talking about this kind of overlapping dialogue, these beats that the two of you put together. It shouldn't have worked. Like, honestly, it should not have worked, but it did. And you would break up these dialogue pieces with a lot of open space. So as an artist, I'm sure you had to think a lot about how much space you had to leave. And then you get a massive beat like that final splash page. I'm going to ask you now first, and then right after this, we'll show the modern pages. What was the collaboration like, and how was the process? How did this process start? And then in the next slides, we'll show the current powers. How did this process start? How do you guys learn to work together?
We talked a lot about the outside influences, most of which were some specific films. Not that we were confusing the art of film with the art of comics. A lot of people are trying to just make literal movies in the comics, and like that's not what we're doing. When you keep saying, when you're talking about beats, like that's the moment by moment action and sort of the ebb and flow of things, and that's something we really picked up from films. We did a lot of studying of Scorsese's Taxi, the storyboards that he did for those, and those you could just look at the storyboards and you could see the movie. You knew what was happening in every scene. And early on, we worked in really tight. Brian would even do sketches of like panel layouts, which he always kind of punishes himself for doing, but I loved it. It brought us together closer in our language of storytelling. After we got that down, like the first 3 issues, like Brian and I hardly ever talk about things anymore. We know each other's dance so well that he just sends a script and I send him stuff. And if I draw something that didn't quite hit what he was looking for, he doesn't ask me to redraw it. He'll rework it in the dialogue. The best compliment you can give is to take dialogue out, because the acting is doing the part. But I think when you're talking about the beats, like when you're looking at those panel by panel, that was a big epiphany for me as a storyteller. Because before that, I think I was looking at pages and scenes more than the beats that make up a page in a scene. And often I'm bored reading a comic because the writer or the artist isn't thinking about the moment by moment ups and downs of a conversation. They're thinking, what do I reveal in the scene? How do I cliffhang this scene, or how do I just get the information that I need across in the scene? But if you have a moment by moment thing happening where there are ups and downs in the conversations that you can feel the rhythm, and it's hard to put your finger on that, what a rhythm is on a page, but you get that with the beat thing.
Now,
And I think that became sort of our drive.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions. Deanna, I'm going to throw this one up for you to read out.
Panel by panel beats, and then structurally they pay off with a splash or a reveal. Yeah, I that's, you could see it in the way that what we have up now. It's this conversation, and then there's this big image of with nothing really on it except for the words, the graffiti behind her. But I think, and that's there were parts of the series where there were these back and forth conversations, and then there would be these pauses where there were panels with no dialogue, and they were just kind of like looking at each other, or there was that builds the tension. And it was just paced so well, and that's what it keeps you engaged in the story.
And then
thanks.
There was one more. Deanna, you want to go?
I was going to ask if it was difficult to work with someone who was also an artist, but it sounds like it was a non-issue.
No, I love that. There's sometimes ego can get in the way of things. Whether an artist some artists don't want to be told anything; they want to have the complete freedom to draw from their mind and stuff. I like the dance, whether I'm working with an artist like Brian or somebody who's just writing like James Tinian. And like, I want to bring out the best of what the other person is thinking, because it's going to make whatever I would have done even better. And Brian and I are constantly doing that with each other, and the colorist and Nick Filardi. Like, the three of us are just constantly figuring out how do we bring out the best in each other. And sometimes that means listening to what somebody else has said. Like, there are times where Nick has, I can say, redrawn on certain things. Like, there's an effect that we had recently where there's like this sort of interdimensional tentacle thing come up, and I just drew it in the way I would draw it. And then he actually said, "Hey guys, can I give this a shot?" And he painted over it. And what he painted was different, but it was better. Right. So, and it's the same thing here. Like, I'm happy to take the art direction and then try and improve on it and stuff. And I know I've done that when Brian takes dialogue out, because he goes, "Oh, Mike said it in the art." So
this is a great example. Like, how has your art and this Powers changed in 25 years? To me, it's obvious that both of you have improved, and yet it's still maintained the same aesthetic. I mean, it's still the same book, but just better. How would you describe it, being the person who makes it?
I like to think of it as a living thing, because there's different processes that I've used over the years. The biggest one was working digital, which I do a lot now. I work both digitally and analog. But like, this new Powers stuff is all digital, except for the covers. So the line work gets more detailed. There's just more on the page, which I'm always fighting against, because like, I look at the early Power stuff and I really want to have less on the page, but being digital makes it easy to put more on the page. So there's this little back and forth balance between the two. There's also the practicality of working digitally, which is it's just faster. You don't have to like stop and change your inks or anything like that.
Yeah, now we have some video of you. Looks like you're getting some compliments from the audience here. Definitely not a rehash. Now let's jump ahead, because I do have some cool stuff I need to show from you, and I don't want to cheap out, because you did so much work for me in advance. We're talking about crime comics, and as we talk about crime comics, I'm going to switch now. Deanna, do that juggling thing that you were going to do, or ask Mike a question, so I have a minute to switch slides. Okay, no pressure.
No pressure at all. So when you guys are looking at a script, how do you guys bounce off each other with? Did you just get his script and then you just kind of go, or do you have input in the actual scripting too now, since you guys have been doing this book for so many years?
Pardon me. There have been stories in the past where I co-wrote, where I actually wrote it. Brian sort of remixed it. Brian will always do the dialogue. So we've worked that way, but I'm just as happy to just have Brian write stuff and send it over. And he doesn't quite know what he's going to get back. He kind of knows, because we know each other pretty well. There's so much trust there. We don't really talk too much about the story until pages are done, and then we'll sort of talk about things. So sort of by talking about the work that's finished, we kind of know what to expect in the future, if that makes any sense.
Sure. And do you feel like since you guys have been sharing a brain, especially for this power, for powers, do you feel like there's less in his scripts now because he can just kind of give you like points and you know what to do at this point?
Yeah, Brian's descriptions are less about stage direction and more about feelings. Talking about what the room feels like as opposed to what it looks like. Like he's not trying to dictate any sort of details to me. He'll talk about like the like the new police officers headquarters. Like it has the feel of like an Apple store, but there's this and that going on over in the corner. You can see this isn't the old grimy power. So over in the corner, we can see something where there's like police are interfacing with the local community. Over here, you can kind of see where the lockup situation is, and it's like this or that. But he doesn't go in and say it's like he doesn't Alan Moore saying exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
He's giving me a vibe. It's like his vibe. He's vibe coding it, as they say.
That's good.
Now, what are you working on here, Mike?
This is one of the covers for Power's definitive collections from Dark Horse Comics. I forget which issue it is. I think 7. It might be 7. It's actually from an issue from an arc that I co-wrote back in the day. And what I would typically do is I either draw this completely on like a photocopy paper, and then I'm lightboxing it, or I might have drawn it digitally and then printed it out on 11 by 17 photocopy paper, and then use the lightbox.
So you're mostly digital workflow now, but for us, you did some physical for us.
Yeah. I mean, I just do both. So one of my last series was William of Newbury, and that I did completely analog. It's sort of what does the project call for and how much time is needed. Like right now I'm juggling 3 active projects. So it's Powers, Red Book. Well, Red Book kind of finished. So now I'm working on a new BPRD related thing, which isn't announced yet, so I can't quite say. And I've got a graphic novel with Douglas Rushkoff that I've been working on. So I don't have as much time to carefully sit there with everything. But my favorite is working analog. That's definitely my favorite.
And what tools?
And then I find I learn things doing both as well. There's lessons that I like when I'm drawing digitally. I'm trying to trick my mind into thinking that I'm drawing analog. Like I think about how the brush bends, even though I'm using a digital pen.
Now, what tools are you using here? What are your go-to physical analog tools?
I use a lot of something called a Karatuke brush pen. I can put it in the description, and basically it's just a refillable brush pen. And what I like about that is I don't have to dip back and forth. Mm-hmm. Even there, though, I still like a real brush for the most part. Here I'm showing something called a Bimoji pen, which is like it's a pen with a felt tip, but it has real ink in it. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. So I try to keep my tools limited to just a few things, because it is about how you're using the tools rather than the tools themselves. And there you go. But I like a brush more than anything else, like a real brush, because there is a very small amount of randomness that you can get out of a brush that you won't get out of like a pen that's with the refillable thing.
Yeah, I think you Philip Burnett.
Yeah, Kuretake is a great brush pen. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's the one.
Is that the right one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Philip's a very good artist in his own right. And then Andrew Campbell asks,
how much talent is required? I have very little, so that might be an issue. Same.
Great question. And let me emphasize this. Very little talent is required. What you need is drive.
Wow.
Like you need to love what you're doing and be passionate about it. Look, some of the highest selling comics is Reno Tegelmeyer's books, like Smile and Dogman. Mm-hmm. Now, both of those are genius books that figured out how to communicate with their audience. But if you look at them, the draftsmanship isn't at a high level. And I'm sure that as artists, they can do other things. Like you saw Bill Watterson, every now and then he would draw something beautiful in there, but generally it was the same sort of nice cartoonish stuff, right? So it's not necessarily the talent level. How good you're drawing is how are you communicating your ideas to people. So you take your brush, and if you're drawing ugly lines, it doesn't matter. A lot of my drawings are not very good. It's the shapes that I'm choosing with composition that I'm choosing. It's this balance of things that you put together, and that's where the magic happens with my stuff. Somebody like Adam Hughes, he's drawing everything perfectly, right? But some of the best, most successful artists are pretty crude when you look at it. You know, it's kind of lowbrow, but they have some of the best ideas, best ways to communicate with the audience and stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm really glad that they asked the self-deprecating question. I don't have a lot of talent. It's not about how well you draw. That's illustration. This is comic books. Comic books is storytelling.
We got another one, Red-Headed Ed.
Talent is just skill trained over time. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then we've got one, and this person I might have to get the magical pixie dust on if this is their first time. There's an actual question.
Oh. Question: how do you get in the right mood for these different projects with various moods and vibes? What's the right time to say I'm ready to draw a crime? That's a great question. Like, especially if the books are so drastically different, you have to switch your total vibe for sure.
This goes back to Redhead Ed's thing. Talent is just skill over time. The ability to draw when you need to draw is something that you can grow over time. Think about like an athlete, right? An athlete, they're ready for a game. They can't say, you know what, I'm not feeling it right now, so I can't go on the field. Or an actor on theater, right? They can't be like, oh, I'm not feeling that magical thing, so I can't go out on stage, right?
Yeah.
You have to train yourself as an artist or a writer to always have your abilities at your fingertips and ready to act for you, even when you're not ready. So there are times where I don't feel like drawing at all. In fact, the last couple of months, maybe year, I admit I'm on full burnout. Like, I've been working super, super hard. I don't feel necessarily like inspired to draw, but I've trained my skills to be there for me, even when I'm not fully there. I heard somebody say something that it's really funny because I'm not somebody who would ever quote Eminem, but I saw some rapper or it was an actor who was like hanging out with Eminem, and he saw him like writing in his notebook, and they said to him like, "Oh, these are lyrics for you're writing something right now, right?" And he's like, "No, I'm just always writing." And he said he's always writing because he wants to keep his mind engaged with that part of himself all the time, right? So it's like a baseball player going to the batting cage, right? You're just going there to exercise and stuff. And that's what sketchbooks and journals, you as writers would know, like, you know, journaling is super important. Having like a blog, like even if it's not a job, it's important to be able to constantly have a connection with your abilities. So you want to get to a place where you've drawn so much or sketched so much, and you don't have to be finished drawings. Just sketches are great for this. It'll always keep that ability ready to be charged up and to go, even if you're not. And that's something that I learned specifically when my son was born, because I had so little time to work. I sometimes I'd have like 2 hours in a day to start drawing. So I had to just get into it, because before that I would have to find the right magazine, maybe watch a movie to get my inspiration going and stuff, right? So you got to get to a place where you make that inspiration your tool.
And I think deadlines and consistencies help. I mean, to be totally transparent, and Deanna knows this, there's there's weeks where I just don't feel like doing this show, but it's Tuesday and it's 8:00 and people waiting, and I show up because they're waiting, and that's why we show their names, because we there's days where it'd be really easy to just go, oh my God, I'm so tired. I had a lousy day. I'll do it next week. But like you, Mike, right? People are waiting. Deanna, like you're the managing editor of The Beat. People are waiting. You can't always go with I feel like it or I don't feel like it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, if you develop that skill for yourself as a writer and artist, it will always serve you, and it's great because, like, yeah, that worst feeling is sitting there waiting for inspiration.
And you know, I think, hold on, I think you're
totally speaking my language. We should have him on more often. You're a regular now.
Oh, and then they wanted to note here.
Oh, if Oeming raps Eminem right now, you're going viral, guaranteed. All right, now you have to.
Go ahead, Mike.
I can only quote Mom Spaghetti. That's it.
Okay, so as we continue on, I think so what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop this video, here real quick, and I'm going to tell people my little shill is that you can watch the rest of this in our Patreon. We've been bringing Patreon along because, let's face it, as you know, you really cannot count on what Twitter or
An
Blue
algorithm.
Sky or the algorithms, right? You need to nurture your audience. So bringing up again, this month is Crime Month. I'm Mike. You're gonna watch the rest of the episodes, right? Because we have some
Absolutely.
yeah, we have some great guests coming up. Deanna, you want to give a readout of who's coming?
Sure. Why is that? Can we make that bigger? I can't see. That's so
How's
small.
that better?
That's a little better. There we go. All right. So we had, what are we up to? Let's see. Next week we have Amy Chu, and her big book for crime is Carmilla. It is supernatural crime. It's crime with vampires, but still crime. And then in February, first week, we have Alex Segura, he's got both comics and fiction stories, crime noir. And then we have Brian Haberlin, writer, artist, and colorist. So I think he's speaking about color specifically, right? For
Yeah,
crime.
he's going to be talking. He's talking about color palettes and crime. And Mike, like, we tried to get artists, writers, but I think having Brian on just to talk about the color of crime goes to your shadows and your lights and the way they reflect the mood, right? I mean, how does
Yeah.
color reflect mood in your work?
Well, you can have Taki on sometime because working on Murder Inc. Like she did this amazing thing where she was really telling the story with color. Nick Filardi is the same way. Like he really understands how to express a feeling, whether it's through a color that expresses something that's dark or light, like literally or metaphorically. It, it's a huge part of storytelling when it's done right.
And just so for reference, Taki is your wife and also a comic book creator as well.
Yeah, she's over here. She colored all the Murder Inc. stuff, and if you look at that, like that started with a very much like we're thinking of the old Jim Steranko crime comics, using like single colors to sort of color things out, and she figured out her own sort of process with it because what's really interesting is sometimes when she wasn't a colorist before this, and what was interesting sometimes is when you don't have experience in something, you'll come up with brand new, fresh, original ways because you don't know what you should or shouldn't do, right?
To something. Now, I have to show this because
There you go.
Steranko's work, so very crime noir. I should have taken it out of the bag to show this, but like when you think about what Steranko did to capture a mood.
Mm-hmm.
He has all the tropes. He's got the the shades and the angles and the heavy backlight and
Yeah.
single point light. Those are the kind
Yeah.
of things that maybe Taki would like to join us on a future episode if she didn't realize that you just volunteered her for the show.
I'm sure she'll be down. Yeah.
All right. So where can they find more about you? I listed Brian's website, your website. What social platforms are you most active on, Mike?
The most active one these days is Blue Sky. I kind of find it's the only one that has like the people you're following you can see. And the people who are following you can see your stuff. Blue Sky is kind of the best spot. I'm also on Instagram. Some stuff bleeds out over onto Threads. But that's basically it.
All right, that's fair.
And here on YouTube, I post stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, I think you do have a YouTube channel. I forgot to cross link that. I should have cross linked. I should have cross linked that. So there was.
That's so cool.
I think they were talking about the Steranko thing, and then
his room been vandalized by OJ.
By OJ. Okay, we're gonna take that as a
orange juice or Simpson.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one, but listen, congratulations on the 25th anniversary of an epic achievement. You've just been doing great work for years, Mike. I mean, really,
thank you.
It is a joy to know you and to watch you have grown through the years. It's a shame you left Jersey, but hopefully you brought a little bit of Jersey to the West Coast.
Oh, definitely. I wear I have a New Jersey Turnpike shirt that I love wearing.
Yeah, which exit?
Yeah,
That was
that's great.
7A.
Deanna's from Jersey too, Mike.
Yep. Jersey.
Wow, nice. What exit are you?
I grew up 14A.
Oh, wow. All right. North Jersey.
North Jersey. Yep.
You know how to fight, basically. That's what that means.
Yeah. Exactly. Totally.
All right, you will find the rest of that video on our Patreon, and our Patreon is free. We're not we wouldn't turn down donations, but it is free. So if you want to watch that entire video, and Mike, you talk over this. You're explaining some of your process during this video, right?
Yeah, it's the only thing I know how to talk about is like comics process.
Well, I watched it and I was absolutely intrigued. I watched the whole. It's 53 minutes, and thank you very much for doing that for us. Sorry we didn't get to show the whole thing, but it gives people a reason, and then we'll cross link back to all of your socials. We do one piece of advice, and the way we do this is I will ask you to say the once I tee it up, I'll say for you to repeat. What's one piece of advice I wish I had received earlier in my career? And then we'll do that. So I'm going to pull Deanna and me off. This way we have a good clip. So Deanna, don't worry, you're not really going away. You'll be back. And then Mike, give me a minute to set you up, and then do a 5 count in your head. Let me remove.
One piece of advice I would give every artist out there is to have a sketchbook and to work in it every day. Remind yourself that a sketchbook is not a finished piece. You're not supposed to be doing beautiful pieces of art in there. It is the gym for your mind. It is the batting cage for your pen and for your brush, and to figure out techniques, to try different things, and to constantly be in contact with your talent. Because the more you're engaged with it, the more it will be there when you need it.
That's not bad. You know, you stick with this art thing, Mike. You're going to be good one day.
Yeah, you're going to make it.
All right. So, Deanna, we're going to put Mike in the green room for a few minutes.
Sure.
Did you leave anything for him to eat in there? I think you said you'd filled the green room for him.
I had some very specific requests this evening. He first needed some chicken broth. It was very important. And then some sriracha.
It's good stuff.
And he's
going to need sriracha to put on top of there.
Yeah, so you got to drizzle that a little bit. And then he's got to pop a vitamin D gummy.
Yeah. I like to drizzle it on, really, so sorry I used it all up.
All right, Mike, hang in the green room. Don't go away. We'll probably have you go back. We have to do a little bit of administrative things. You take your vitamins, and we'll there you go. That was awesome.
Yes. Very cool.
And what was your big takeaway tonight, Deanna? Did you learn from our esteemed artist Mike Oeming?
Yeah, so I always say that I'm just the writer. I want to get that shirt. I'm just the writer, but I feel like Mike has inspired me to draw now, because he said it's not about having this wonderful talent. Like just do whatever. So I'm gonna try to draw. It's gonna be terrible, but I'm gonna try.
So you're inspirational as well.
Yes, very inspirational.
That's awesome. I love that. We everybody has a story in them. Everybody has a story to tell, for sure.
Yeah, I'm a terrible artist, but you've inspired me to embrace my terrible art skills.
Absolutely, yay!
All right, let's just keep it on toward the end. Let's just put this back here. We're gonna tell you about our socials. So we're on all the socials, even TikTok. Despite my protest, we're on there as well. Deanna and I both launched Patreons specifically to build community, and Mike, it's just really hard to build community. So we're on there. It's free, but we're trying. We're doing our best. And you're on Blue Sky, right? Back to the Blue Sky, I think you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mainly Blue Sky, Instagram are the two best places. I'm on YouTube. I'm also on TikTok, which has a much smaller community, but I like it a lot.
I'll put all the links in the show notes on YouTube, and then I'll also put it in Patreon. And that brings us to the end. Let me get my music on. Just pretend like I did this seamlessly. Just it'll be a little loud, but you're just gonna have to forgive me. All right, here we go.
Oh, that's not bad.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight, as you do every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to talk about the craft and business of making comics. We would not be able to do this without you. We thank you, Mike, for joining us and doing such a great show, for making that illustration. Obviously, the people have a lot to say. I'm so sorry I fell behind on. Do you put tutorials on your YouTube, Mike?
Oh yeah. I've got like 100 or so up there.
I gotta watch them. That's how I'm gonna learn to draw.
All right, Mike, don't log off, but everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again next week. Next week we have what? Who?
Amy Chu's next week.
Amy Chu next week. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. You guys make it worth it to show up. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next Tuesday.